Every week we have the sleigh ride with VFL and SEC basketball legend Ron Slay, thanks to Native Design.
Legend.
And the Native Nursery, go to nativetn.com. It's NCAA tournament time, Ron Slay.
Yeah, it is, man. Hey, what's going on, fellas? Swain, first of all, let me just say, Josh, good to see you.
You as always.
Swain's energy is out off the meter today. I love how infectious it is, and it's making my energy come all the way up. You know what I mean? I'm just fresh up out of a nap, and I'm ready to go now that Swain is Swain locked and loaded for this good March Madness time of the year.
Ron, I was struggling yesterday, man. I'm still thawing out.
Understatement.
Dude, I was struggling yesterday, man. Friday messed me up, man. Up. I still got some questions, but yesterday I was not feeling really good about this tournament run. I feel a little bit better today. I do feel like it's okay to tinker with the starting lineup, but I get it if you don't, because it's the tournament. I don't think it's a big deal if you do, because remember Rick Barnes early in the season, guys, referred to the top 7 as all starters. Hey, these are all starters. It's only 5 guys can start the game, but you got a good group of guys that you all consider starters. So I just feel like with how Jamal has played over the last 4 or 5 games versus how Santi has played over the last 4 or 5 games offensively, I wouldn't mind to see a little change with the starting lineup. Slay, what do you think?
I tell you what, man, this it comes down to a coach knowing his guys and how they respond to changes, if you will. I think it could be something great for Meshack as much as it could be great for Santi. I think you look at it, if you're Meshack, it's a pat on the back. You worked really hard. You know what I'm saying? You earned this time. Let me give you this time and see what he goes out and do. And you never know what kind of spark you get out of him. And then you look at Santi, you don't know what it does for him. Maybe it takes pressure off of him. Maybe it puts him into a new role. Maybe it puts him to his old role where he feels, I can go back to that scorer's mentality a little bit, and maybe it unlocks something. I'm with you. I don't think it's a bad thing if it happened. I think you're in a position where you got a first round matchup that you should be able to handle regardless of who you have in the starting 5. So why not, if that was something that you're looking for, a spark to get people going, why not go out there and, tinker with it a little bit just to see the response from guys around it. You could bring something totally different to the game. I think it's going to be about matchups anyway. And why not have a guy like Meshack come in? I do wonder, coming into the game with Meshack starting, Santi bringing offense coming off the bench, but I think when Meshack comes off the bench, he brings a different kind of energy as well, that kind of sparks the team. That 6-man role is something that's vital on teams, and you got to be able to have guys to fill that role and do it well, and I think he does a great job of it. So I ain't mad at that. I think it's a win-win, honestly, if you were to do it. And if you leave it the same, I think you're okay. I think you had a bad enough showing in the SEC tournament to have a taste in your mouth that everybody wants to get out. Everybody should want to play well regardless of what role you're in. It's just about having another opportunity to be able to go out there and erase that bad memory from everybody's mind.
Ron Slay with us, and everybody wants that erased, right? You were there to see it in person. We talked to you leading up, and what you had seen from Tennessee going through workout, shoot-around before Friday's game. I think you were optimistic about what they would see, but we saw you on the screen during the game. You brought more energy than the team did at times.
You look sad, bro.
So what should people be thinking leading up to the game? That gap of time where Swain was downtrodden yesterday and others are now a little more concerned than the conversation 7 days ago. What should people be thinking ahead of the start of the tournament?
They should be thinking that Mississippi State's way on the other side of the country in another type of bracket.
Stay away from them.
I think that's a bad matchup, man. I thought that during the regular season going down there. I also thought it when I saw the SEC tournament bracket shake out the way it did. When you have Mississippi State, I was asked on my show who would I rather play, and of course I said LSU. Reason being they match up better with them. It's a different type of style that Mississippi State plays, and you have different type of people guarding Dalton Connect. I think that poses a different challenge when you have a guy 6'8" or 6'9", whether it be DJ Jeffries or Cam Matthews, and both of them being able to be having length to disturb him, the physicality that is brought when you have a guy like Cam Matthews and being able to switch spot for spot. They went back to something that worked against Auburn, and Auburn's a really good team. But as far as trying to get DK freed up, running the double exit play, moved from the corner, and they just switched it. And it was okay to switch it because you were just switching to another guy that was like the person that switched off of it as far as defenders go. So I thought that was a problem. And Mississippi State had something totally different to play for. They were playing for their tournament lives walking into that situation. I did think Tennessee looked good. I thought the energy was there the day before. I thought everything felt right. It just didn't turn out that way when it went out there on the court. And that can happen in tournament play, especially when you're matched up against different teams. I think you looked at it across the college landscape, and especially that Friday, going inside the huddle, you heard a lot of coaches saying towards the middle of the game, hey, man, I can't draw up no X's and O's for this, dog. Y'all got to go out here and do this. It's up to you guys. And I think that's what it was. I don't think it was anything schematically. It was just the physicality and Tennessee missing shots. Sometimes we can make the game so much more difficult to understand and to analyze than what it is. They missed shots. It was that simple. A new environment. It was a problem. So you have the good thing is you have another opportunity to erase that.
That starts with St. Peter's. 1 to 10. You can go with 1. You can go with 0 if the answer is here. And the only reason I ask is because we saw what happened to Purdue last year. We saw what St. Peter's did a couple of seasons ago. Different team. I'll point that out before I even ask the question. Level of worry for a 2 versus 15 matchup, the possibility of an upset. And, again, if you want to make 1 or 0 an option here, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah, 1 to 10, I'll give it a 1.5. I mean, you gotta. It's hope out there. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to give them a chance. They're in the tournament, so they automatically get a chance. So I can't give them 0. They won a conference tournament to get there, so that automatically elevates them. I think what people got to understand too, and we all get caught up and guilty of it. You start to see familiar names, and you associate those familiar names with those teams that you saw make that run. Whether it be Michigan State, you start thinking of the teams of old. Duke, start thinking of the teams of old. And St. Peter's, in their view, you start to think, oh, St. Peter's, Shaheen Holloway, they got a team of guys put together that can really go get. This is not that team. This is not that same St. Peter's team. You got guys that jumped in the portal after that run, and a couple of them played in the SEC this past year. So. This is not that same team. You got to give them credit, but I'm not at all worried about St. Peter's. I think Tennessee, if they go out and play the way that they should play, not even all the way up to their maximum effort, but they should be able to handle this St. Peter's team.
How do you feel about Tennessee's path to a deep run?
Yeah, I thought it was favorable, Swain. I thought that was a very favorable draw. When you look in the head, if it would have just played chalk all the way through, you look at a matchup with Texas. I honestly do not. I want Texas to advance. I don't want Virginia to win this play-in and then play Texas win and then play. I don't want to see that style of basketball. I don't. Even though I think Tennessee could win it because they adjust to different style. I don't want to see them play Virginia. So hopefully they play Texas and so forth and so on. And looking up in that same pod, South Carolina playing Oregon. Creighton could be a matchup. I like this. When you look across the rest of the brackets, the West being a gauntlet, the East being a gauntlet, like I'm cool with where we are. I think it plays out fine. You're able to get your feet up under you, have some good matchups, teams that you could be familiar with as far as coaching style goes. And then if it were to chalk out, also have another matchup with Purdue. And you're seeing them another time for this year, also having the history with Purdue. There should be some extra added motivation in that as well. So I love it. I wouldn't choose a different route at all.
Sleigh Ride presented by Native Design with the Native Nursery, nativetn.com. Tennessee will play Thursday night against St. Peter's in a 2:15 matchup in the NCAA tournament. We'll dive into more of what Tennessee is trying to do, correct, continue on from the regular season. Ron, we also have Casey on the line with us who wanted to jump on the Sleigh Ride and ask you a quick question. Casey, thanks for calling in. You're on with Tennessee legend Ron Sleigh.
Legend.
Not only is he a legend, he was a street legend. Now he's a world legend. The Sleigh Ride is landed in Knoxville. Is that right, Sleigh? You in Knoxville now?
Yes, sir, Casey. What's going on with you, brother?
You all over the bubble. You thought you could hide, bro. You thought you got the man, the myth, the legend. I'm telling you, boy, you're a long way from those 5 o'clock a.m. interviews where you had to hold it down, aren't you?
Hey, man.
You remember those back in the day?
How quick people forget, man. How quick they forget.
Boy, you have come a long way. I'm very proud of you, man. Slay, I want you to do this for me. I want you to take off your basketball hat and put on your coach hat, and you have to talk to these two seniors, these two fifth-year seniors. What do you do to fire them up and motivate them for the NCAA tournament? And I'll hang up and listen. That's my guy right there. That's my guy, guys. I'll holler at you.
Casey, thank you.
I appreciate that, man. Casey, man, if I were to be able to talk to him, man, I would ask them. You know, I would sit them down, those two together, and ask them just, you know, what do you feel your responsibilities are for this team? You know what I'm saying? And wait on the answer. Listen to the answer, and let that segue back into just you return for another year. What were you expecting to get out of this year? You know what I mean? Have you hit every check mark? And then getting back to this point, I need to know, like, where do you think this team can go? And what part do you play in this team getting there? Can you get out and deliver on what you're saying, what you thought, whatever you built in the past to get to this point? How will you help this team springboard into getting a national championship? Because you checked everything else. As far as leaving your legacy, you got an SEC tournament championship, wasn't done in a while. You got a regular season championship. You done that. Like, the next thing is to go on a deep run and, you know, at least get to the Final Four, minimum. And for it to happen, you two gentlemen have to be elite. You have to play at a different level. In order for it to get there, you can't be the sidecar. No, you stand on your own. You are who you are. You built this platform. You built all these expectations. You got all SEC performers. There's no need to get to this point and then take a step back, regardless of everything that's going on, all the white noise that's around it. You got to be able to block it out. In order for this team to strive and hit their stride, you got to be involved. You can't sit back and watch, because when everybody lifts the trophy up, it won't be Dalton Connect going to lift it up. It won't be Zakai Ziegler going to lift it up. It won't be Jonas Adu, Jemai Mayshak, Jordan Gainey. It won't be any of these guys going to lift it up. We're seeing Santi, Vescovi, and Josiah-Jordan James to go accept that trophy from whoever it is that's giving it out. And you two will lift it up, and everybody else will follow, because you two are the veteran leadership that we always needed. You're the cornerstones of this program, and it's not about me. You've shown it's not about me. But in order for it not to be about you, you can't be an outlier. If the game goes on and they point at you and say the loss, it's about you, you're not living up to anything that we brought to this point. It's not about me means that it's not about me being the one that's not stepping up as well. So to encompass all of that, I need you two guys to be elite. And if you're ready to do it, go grab your bags and let's go hit this bus. We're on our way to Charlotte.
Is it important for those guys to be assertive early? I think sometimes when those guys are deferring early and passing up shots early, they get lost in the game. And then you turn around, the game is over. They've played 32 minutes or 28 minutes, and Santi and Triple J combined have 8 points. Is it important for those guys to make shots early to keep them involved, maybe start a groove? Because we know what Dalton Connect's going to do in the second half. He's a closer. You don't need him to close in the first and second half. He's a second half closer. But is it important, your opinion, for those two guys to get going early?
Absolutely. I think it is. And not necessarily where you're coming out running plays for those guys, because you don't have to do that with them. You know, these guys know these guys know the plays. They know the nooks and crannies that they can break off the play and go and get an easy bucket. So you got to look for those. And when you have the opportunity, the ball swung around, you don't necessarily need to swing it back around. I thought he was aggressive coming out of that Kentucky game. Him getting that shot, when talking about Josiah-Jordan James, him getting that shot to go on and tie it up and go to overtime at UT when playing Kentucky, I thought was a great shot. I don't think it was any hesitation in it. I wish it would have went in, because they no telling what that would have springboarded them to. But I think those are the type of the mentality you got to have. The way you came out in that second half, the way Santi played at Kentucky, hitting those big time threes, the defense that he brought against Auburn, making those timely plays. So it doesn't necessarily have to be them coming out and being, we got to draw this up, we got to get them going. Because if we get you going and you score the first 2 baskets, are you going if you stop? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you feel like, oh man, I am packed, this is it, I got us go? No, man, we need you consistently like that throughout the entire game, because that's who you've been. And we're not asking you to be anything outside of that, but continue to be who you were before getting to this, before the emergence of Dalton Connect. And it's easy to do. I'm going to be honest. You just got to get out of your head, and you got to be able to go out there and go get it. I say it's easy to do, but when the ball's in your hand at a limited time, on the closing part, you start to think like, where do I get mine? Where do I get mine? So you gotta yourself be assertive, like you're saying in the beginning. Go get some offensive rebounds. Go get some putbacks. Go run the floor. Get out and, Zakai push it ahead. Get out there and run that wing and pitch it. If you're Josiah, grab that ball off the board and go. Let Zakai feel the wing sometimes. You're the mismatch. You're the cross match that's a problem for people when you're looking at this Tennessee team flourishing. That 4 spot, that's a dangerous spot. And I thought that's where he should have been at last year. Him being there this year, he got to take advantage of it, because he is a matchup problem, and he's a problem for guys on offense to get going when he's defending them on the defensive end. As far as switches and things of that go, he can be just as disturbing. So him and Santi, man, they understand what it takes. It's all about being assertive and, getting out there and going to get it.
Josh in the text box, great name, texted in, okay, Slay, you've got me ready to run through a wall. The message to the seniors has Josh ready to go.
Hey, man, that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, you get to these times like this, and you can't squander them. If I was telling them, dog, I remember us not getting getting that NCAA bid my senior year, then having to get ready for the NIT. If I could do it all over again, like I don't remember preparing correctly for the NIT, just for the simple fact that I was thinking, man, we got snubbed. We should have been in the tournament. But then leading up to it, when it was time to get out there and warm up for the matchup against Georgetown, I look back on it like, man, I should have got them 2 practices in the way I should have, and we should have went on a run. You want to leave a lasting impression, and I felt I did, but it could have been greater, even though it was an NIT matchup, and we had lost John Higgins, that and moving forward. You look back at it, my sophomore year, getting into the NCAA tournament, losing. You felt like you was gonna get there again, and it ain't promised. So you have an opportunity to go out and leave an everlasting legacy, man. If you're a senior, you shouldn't want anything else. You got a great seed, you got a great path, you're close to home, and you're good enough to, if they would have sent you all the way to Spokane, you could have complained about it, but Vol Nation would have traveled to go see it. So you got something close to home, man. It ought to be full, and you ought to be a representation of who you want to be when you go out there and play.
The Sleigh Ride every week is presented by Native Design with the Native Nursery. Ron, you played in 2 of these tournaments, the NCAA tournaments, your first 2 seasons in Knoxville. What do you remember about this week, the build-up, the conversations you're having, getting ready for the start of the tournament?
Man, you look at it. I remember the practices leading up, the excitement leading up. Especially my first year. We had so many freshmen. We had a five-man freshman class coming in, so it was real exciting. I think the next year it was as exciting, but we felt like we got snubbed as far as our seating a little bit. But leading up to it that's all you can think about, man. Getting there. I remember me personally, all I could see was one shining moment. I was like, man, I got to get on one shining moment. I got to make a play to make sure I'm on there, and I did. But that was it. And I think once you get to the city, once you fly out and you arrive at the city, then it really hits you. It's like, wow, NCAA tournament. It's you can feel it in the air as soon as you touch down, and it's a goal all the way checking into the hotel, getting there to the arena to practice, leaving the arena, then finding another gym to go shoot around in. It's amazing, man. There's no better time in the year. And I think people that miss out on March Madness, man, I hate it for them, man. But if you get a taste of it, it's nothing like it in the world, man. Nothing like March Madness.
If I told you to pick 3 teams from the SEC to buy stock in, going and making a deep run into the tournament, take what you gathered from the end of the regular season and the SEC tournament, and the draw matters too. Who would those 3 teams be for you?
Hold on, say it one more time, Swain. My bad. I was looking at this flight, and the number just blew my mind, so I couldn't say it again.
3 teams from the SEC that you would take going to the tournament to make the deepest run.
Okay.
Right now.
Oh, I'm going to go. With knowing the brackets, let me see. I'm going to go. I got to take Auburn, just how hot they are, how complete they are, how deep they are as far as wearing teams out, being able to have the same energy going night in, night out because of the minutes that everybody plays. The other one would be Tennessee for sure, like their path. Think they're built for it as far as the mix goes. The third one, I'm torn between Kentucky and Florida. I actually have Florida advancing to the Final Four in my bracket. I want to pick UK. I want to pick Kentucky, man, but it's just something about not ever playing defense that gets me. At some point,
ever?
Like, yeah, I mean, ever. At some point, you gotta get a stop, and I just can't depend on them to get no stop. Now, I know everybody points to, but they can score. At some point, they go cold, and then what do? You saw it down the stretch. The Texas A&M game. You know, so many people are quick to point at the Tennessee game and can't figure out what was going on. I can't figure out how a team goes cold like that. That's on a heater. Antonio Reeves was cooking. Reed Sheppard was cooking. Dillingham was on fire. Then all of a sudden, it just fizzled out. And Wade Taylor and Boots Radford took over. So I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure if I can trust Kentucky to move forward. I trust Florida just because now they are a little lethargic at times, and I don't feel like Kentucky ever is lethargic, even when the ball is not going in the hole. It's just who they are. So that's why I'm torn between Kentucky and Florida, being that third team to make it run. But I did pick Florida in my bracket, so I guess I got to stick with that.
When if they both get out of the first weekend, they would square off in the Sweet 16.
That's right. Yep,
so
that's why I got them facing. And
they can settle it there.
Florida beating them. Yeah, I know Handlock went down for Florida. Prayers out to him on a speedy recovery and a healthy recovery. But I think, man, this is going to be one of those situations, addition by subtraction, you drop one of your bigs, and that finds room for one of your guards like Riley Kugel to slide to that 4 spot. And now you have Kugel, Will Richards, Walter Clayton Jr., and Zion Pullen all on the court at the same time with Tyrese Samuel. And the emergence of Aberdeen, like, that could be a problem with Kugel being at the 4. And you can still go big again because you had 4 bigs. So you can still throw Condon or Houck out there to spread the floor. I like Florida, man. I like Florida.
You mentioned it there, and you went a little deeper earlier, but I agree. I think this draw that Tennessee gets, at least in the first weekend, you don't even know who you're going to play in the second weekend. We can assume Creighton or Purdue, but I think it's about as favorable as Tennessee could hope for, being a 2 seed, knowing who they would have to play on Saturday. Texas, Virginia, or Colorado State, quality teams, none of them should scare Tennessee.
No, not at all. Not at all. You know the history there with them and Coach Barnes in Texas, and what better way to advance than having to knock off a Texas, and then you get to that Sweet 16 like you're speaking about. And I'm not sure if I think Oregon just got hot.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got hot at the right time. Does that carry over to the NCAA tournament? Remains to be seen. But I think I got South Carolina beating them.
Would you want South Carolina there if you're Tennessee, or would you rather avoid that?
I'm fine with South Carolina.
Okay.
I'm fine with South Carolina. Them splitting throughout the season, them knowing each other. It won't be no surprises, that's for sure. They know them, and South Carolina knows Tennessee, and you just got to go and play. If it was someone else, if it was a Creighton, I'm fine with Creighton. I believe that Tennessee can adjust to the way and the style that Creighton plays, and I'm not sure that Creighton can adjust if Tennessee jumps out on them and play the style that Tennessee wants to play. A lot of shooters can play their style of ball, got a big man down low that they can get it to, some nice wings that can fill it up. But can they adjust if Tennessee was to play the physical style that they were, or get up and down? Is Creighton fit for that? That would be my question. So then the Purdue matchup, we know what the bad blood is there. You know, you get an opportunity to right your wrongs. Ain't no Carson Edwards out there to kick out legs and do things like that. And you know, I mean, weird fouls being called. So you'll be in a great situation there as well. I love this draw. I think this is the best pod that you could ask for. Outside of Houston.
If we get the Tennessee-Purdue Elite Eight rematch, I'm not going to ask Swain. I'm going to tell him, you go get a heart rate monitor. We need to monitor you the whole way through, before and after that game. Somebody needs to keep an eye on Swain if Tennessee and Purdue square off again after the Sweet 16 game, the bowl game, which I'm not going to bring up. So if we get to that point also, I'll thank the NCAA tournament for the ratings that will be coming to our radio stations as well. We'll come back. We have a question that was sent in for both Swain and Ron Slay. We'll have that. Final thoughts from Ron Slay ahead of the tournament action this weekend. You can answer this either side as quickly as you want to, as we just have a few minutes to go. But Kyle wants to know for both VFL Jason Swain, who was a football standout for the Vols, and Ron Slay, who was a basketball standout for the Vols, if Swain and Slay switched sports, Swain going over to basketball, you know about hoops, Slay over to football, you know about the gridiron, who would have been more successful at UT?
That's tough, man.
Probably Slay, because, I mean, guys who are 6'8", 6'9", I think Slay more like 6'6" and a half. I think the.
You think the program was lying?
I think the media guy was lying, man. I think it was lying, man.
Without shoes on, Swain 6'6"3/4.
Okay.
Nobody plays without shoes though. That's the thing.
That's true. But
I always got shoes on, from what I can tell.
I will go wrong because someone transitioning from basketball to football at 6'6", playing tight end, I think will have more success than someone, my height transition to the basketball court, where I'll probably have to play like point. I would probably say wrong.
This feels like some of the Zach Edey criticism I've heard over the last few weeks in defense of Dalton Connect. Well, because he's tall, he'd be able to go out there, Ron. That's what I heard.
That's why I'm gonna go with Ron. Yeah.
I'm with Swain on that, man. That's a hard crossover to do for anybody, but I do think we've seen it more as far as basketball goes from power forwards playing that spot to going to tight end. You know what I'm saying? That's more doable than I think, man, a guy moving from Swain spot to the point guard. Like that's different, man. Like football to basketball is different. Basketball to football is different, but good gosh, man, to go out there and have to handle that rock like that, that's different. That's a little bit different. At least I'm used to banging and running into people and, in a sense, kind of running routes for contact and things of that nature. So,
yeah. At least put you on kick team like with Stanley Asumnu. See if you can get your hands on a kick.
I most definitely wouldn't be on kick team.
Okay.
I wouldn't be on coverage. I wouldn't be on none of that. That's a different kind of mission. I'm not on that mission.
That point is true as well.
Yeah, we would hate for you to be on PATs and get hurt because having so much
epidemic right now.
It happens so much, man.
Hey, it does happen. It happens quite a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Ron, what have we missed ahead of the start of the tournament? Lady Vols get ready as a 6 seed in the NCAA tournament as well. Tennessee's men's team, a 2 seed, starting up on Thursday. Lady Vols on Saturday.
Yeah, man. I think the Vols, we talked about them. We covered it. Just need guys to play and have fun, man. Enjoy the moment, get locked in. Lady Vols, I had my bracket filled out, and I don't know what I did with it, man. So I can't really tell you. I had it all the way broken down to a science because we did a 2-hour special on the SEC network, and I think I left mine because I let Alyssa use it to do an interview. So Alyssa Lane probably stole my winning bracket. My winning bracket is out there floating in Alyssa Lane's hands, so any credit she gets about being right about the tournament should go honestly to me. But
okay, that's on record now.
Yeah, put that down right there. Yeah. Lady Vols, though, they got a great opportunity, man, to bounce back from the shot heard around the world in Cardozo, making that bank 3 with no defense being there. So I'll look forward to Rakia Jackson being able to get hot, to Marquis to have an inside presence, Spears to be able to get going, and get out of the first 2 rounds. Let's get to the Sweet 16 and let's see what happens.
And Tennessee fans should pull for whom, do you think, tonight, Virginia or Colorado State, in terms of what would be best for the Vols if one of those teams is there on Saturday?
I would want Colorado State. I do not want to see boring style of basketball, running the shot clock down all the way to 0 to get a shot. Like this ain't what it's about. I do think, though, if playing Virginia, they would handle them and get them on out of the way because Virginia can't fight out of a hole. So as much as I don't like Tony Bennett and his style, I may want to see them play Virginia. Colorado State could be a wild card, putting the ball in the hole, and you never know what can go with. At least you know what to expect from a Virginia team.
It's a TCB weekend. Take care of your own business, and you shouldn't have to worry about whether it's Texas or Colorado State or Virginia.
That's what you can't do. Do not look ahead. Do not look ahead in this. I'm telling you, we did that my freshman year against North Carolina. We saw Tulsa sitting in the stands, Bill Self and them, when we thought we had the game in hand, and we was like, boy, we're going to beat the hell out of them, boy, because they beat us earlier in the year in Puerto Rico. So we couldn't wait. It was all aligning, and then we lost track for somehow, and Ed Cota went bananas.
I'm still afraid to bring up that game. Anytime.
Yeah, I wouldn't want you to, Swain, especially. I mean, Josh. But see, I just mixed y'all up because now I'm all off kilter.
So y'all look past North Carolina?
No, we had the game. We had the game won.
Yeah.
Like
Haywood goes over to the bench and it's like, all right, Tennessee's advancing.
This is over.
Here it goes.
We saw Bill Self and them up there scouting. Like we knew Tulsa. We were gonna handle Tulsa. You hear me? They got us early in the year against Puerto Rico, so it was all lining up, man. It was all lining up. We knew what to do with North Carolina. That was the only stumbling block we had to get past.
Yep.
And that we had them. Brandon Haywood fouled out, and they changed their whole scheme. And they stopped. They didn't use Bill Guthridge. He didn't use a strategy no more. They put the ball in Ed Cota's hands and said, "Take us there." Yep. And that was it. If they would have just stopped and not just been hooping, they would have kept going to Brandon Haywood, man. C.J. Black and had him on lock. It was over. He fouled out. Messed us up.
Well, Ron Slay, we're gonna end on that positive, uplifting note as we.
It's not positive, Josh. It's not positive.
I know.
We'll create something positive for you on Thursday.
That's right. That's right.
Against Petersburg.
Yeah, Tennessee's going to take care of the past starting Thursday against St. Peter's. If you need help with the work that you're doing with the Native Nursery at Native Design, they can help you. If you're a contractor, a landscaper, Jacob Dunaway and his team will take care of you. Your one-stop shop for plants, trees, and landscaping materials, 865-310-3256, and the website is nativetn.com. The Sleigh Ride every week thanks to Native Design. Thank you, Ron Slay. We appreciate it. Enjoy all the basketball over the next few days, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Yes, sir. You better know it.